Welcome back. I hope you're enjoying your day here at the Bush Center. It's as much a pleasure for me to be here as it is for you. I hope it is for you. Just last week, I assumed my post here as president of the George W. Bush Foundation, and it's such a thrill and so much fun to return to Texas and work with my friend President Bush on these critical issues, and thank you all for being here. Our work here at the Bush Institute is inspired by the strong leadership of President and Mrs. Bush, two people I had the opportunity of serving for many years. As Don Evans said this morning, our guiding principle here is freedom. We believe that applies absolutely to economic issues. And as has been said today, when people and markets are allowed to operate without burdensome government intervention, prosperity follows. Another fact to add to those that we've been accumulating today, there was a recent peer-reviewed journal in the Journal of Economic Growth that recently estimated that regulation has reduced real output by about 2% during the past 50 years, resulting in an accumulated reduction in GDP of almost $40 trillion in 2011. As was said this morning, that's real money, even in Washington. Many states and nations have thriving economies today thanks to this industry. Other places like New York and California that also have abundant natural resources have lagged in part because of ill-conceived policies. America can have stronger growth, and the energy industry can and does play a major role in driving that growth, and we must get the policies right. Nobody understands that better than our next speaker. President George W. Bush has grappled with the questions of regulation, energy, and the economy at many different levels. Remember that before entering in politics, he operated companies engaged in oil and gas exploration. We heard someone on our panel earlier say he was in business, not politics. Our next speaker has been in both. As governor, he drove policies like electricity deregulation that fostered competition and allowed the energy industry to thrive for the people of this great state. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and my pleasure to introduce the 43rd President of the United States, George W. Bush. Where are you, man?
I'll sit next to you, Brenda. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you. So this is our first official event with Margaret, who is now running the Bush Center. And we're thrilled to have you here, Margaret. Thank you very much for your willingness to serve. Pleased to see my pal Don Evans, Chairman of the Board, former Secretary of Commerce. Board Member Ray Hunt is with us. Thank you for being here. Ron Kirk, we're thrilled you're here. Thank you for your service to our city as well as our country. Jim Glassman, appreciate you. I call him Glass. I appreciate you, Glass. That's like, anyway. And, of course, Amity, a Energizer bunny, and we thank you very much. So at the Bush Center, we believe in freedom, and one of the cornerstones of freedom is free enterprise. And one of those amazing things that's happened in my lifetime, really, is the advent of technologies that change our capacity to generate and use energy. And so the question is at hand is how best to harness the energy for the common good in a reasonable way. And therefore, I want to thank all the panelists who've come. I want to thank you for the work. I've seen a lot of the papers that you produce, or booklets, or emails, or something, of what you produced, and I'm impressed. I do believe that we can help influence a debate in the United States, and there needs to be not only debate, but understanding of what's real and the implications of our country being less dependent on energy from the Middle East, for example. I am getting ready to introduce the panel, but before I do so, I want to thank Pioneer Natural Resources, the Hirsch Foundation, Highland Capital Management, and NRG for sponsoring this summit, these meetings. I also want to thank my former cabinet member, Fast Eddie Schaefer out of North Dakota. He was a Secretary of Agriculture, and he left the state right before the Bakken shale boom took off. Bad timing. Good timing for me. But thank you. We've served as governors together. Panel 5 will be governors and important representatives from Canada and Mexico. One governor is a governor from an oil-producing state who I know extremely well and is my pal. The governor of Texas, Rick Perry, has kindly joined us. He is nervous because his Texas A&M Aggies will be playing Alabama on Saturday. I also want to welcome Sam Brownback. Now, here's the thing about Sam. Today is his 57th birthday, so you can tell him happy birthday once he gets out here. I'm also pleased that we've got the governor of Vermont. So you're wondering what the governor of Vermont is here. It's going to be an interesting perspective for Texans to hear what he's got to say. I'm not saying Douglas used to represent a foreign country, but it seems that way. But I think you'll like the guy. I certainly do. He's a wonderful man, and we're thrilled that Jim is here. Jim Flattery is here, who's a Minister of Finance from Canada, as well as Jordi Herrera, who used to be the Secretary of Energy in Mexico. You say, why invite him? Why would you invite him? And the answer is this. When you combine the energy assets of the United States, Canada, and Mexico, presuming that they open their country up for new flows of capital, you've got enormous amounts of energy for our country as well as Canada and Mexico. I mean, this is a revolutionary change that's taking place in our hemisphere. And the question is, can these energy sources be exploited in safe and sound ways? That's what the debate is about and the discussion is about. And we at the Bush Center think so. And so it is my honor to welcome Russell Gold, who's a reporter for the Wall Street Journal, as well as the afternoon panel. And again, I want to thank you all for your interest. I'm so honored you're here. And for those of you who supported the Bush Center, I hope you are as pleased with the building, the grounds, the museum, and the programs as Laura and I are. Welcome.